Hi, I'm Nathan Cole of natesviolin.com, and let's talk about Mazas etude number 23 with a special welcome to those of you preparing this for all-state auditions. This is a tuneful little etude. It's not a short one exactly, and it builds some really fundamental, some key skills, and so we won't be talking about every single measure, but going over the basic things that you need to master to play this etude well. This one is really about the key thing for this one is the short stroke on the string. This kind of, especially near the tip where it's most natural. The biggest mistake I see people making is trying to both start and stop these short strokes, and that's true whether you're doing down, up, or, hooking things up, 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 or down, 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 or whatever. Obviously, to start this stroke, the bow is on the string with a certain amount of pressure. The more pressure you put on the string to start the stroke, the heavier the articulation will be. There are very few of those kind of strokes in this one. They're mostly light. So the bow will be set on the string with a little bit of pressure. And to do that, there are two ways of thinking about it. You can either say you're going to push down with your index finger, this sort of opening or closing a doorknob, distributing the weight toward the index finger. You can think of it that way, or you can think of pushing up with the thumb. It ends up being the same motion. I love thinking of pushing up into the leather with my thumb. It helps prevent me from, pressing or trying to torque my arm or anything like that. So it's just a gentle pushing up with the thumb that bends the bow stick a little bit, puts pressure on the string, and then the release of that pressure is what lets the bow move. And so I'm not trying to stop it on the other end, because then I'll often get extra noises. Obviously, you don't want that. So I'm just focusing on the start of each stroke. And again, every one of those is done by setting a little bit of pressure. I push up into the leather with my thumb and then release it to get the note. Now, when I chain those together, and if I want them even shorter, I let the bow move faster. But there's never a stop to the note. Now it's the same thing when you're hooking them up, up, up. You'll notice the arm basically moves smoothly. I'm not with the arm. It's the fingers and again that thumb that have the flexibility to create those notes. So if I want it louder, again, it's a little bit more pressure or pushing up into the stick, like you'll see in measure 63 when it comes back in forte. So that's one skill, the short strokes on the string. Probably the most important one for this. Trills also, trills appear in so many different etudes, especially the Kreutzer ones in the teens. And so that's a skill that, I practice trill stuff every day. So this etude features trills that start on the main note, such as, when I say main, I mean the lower note actually. And it also features trills that start on the upper note. So you have to be ready for either. So in those Kreutzer etudes, for example, if you look at those, you can practice them starting from the lower and the upper note. Trill endings. Those are great to isolate. So for example, in the second measure, rather than always practicing the whole trill with the ending, you can just practice the ending really fast, and even the ending going into the hooked notes. That builds the feeling of ending the trill with speed, because you don't want to get hung up there. And the last fundamental skill in this one is the playing of octaves. And in this one, they're mostly broken, meaning not as double stops. But in octave playing, you want to keep 1 and 4 down with a soft and supple hand. It really helps if you have a nicely curved 4th finger when you're trying to shift positions with octaves. If that 4 is locked and straight, then the shifting of positions is going to be tougher and more jerky. So I practice these kind of things, for example, in bar 34. I practice them long and expressively. So as double stops, and then I'd even slur them to make sure that my shifts are not jerky and machine-like, but still expressive. And then it helps if you're practicing octaves every day, scales and octaves. And again, that soft and supple hand. If you need help with the 4th finger, I've certainly got a video on pinky power here on YouTube. As far as breaking the octaves, I want my arm basically to stay at one level, and that's the level of the 2 strings together. And I just let the hand go between them. I want basically the least distance possible. So instead of for something like this, I don't mind a little bit of blur, a little bit of smear, as if I were almost playing double stops. If I wanted them super clear, I suppose I could really travel more distance. But I prefer, because then if they're in tune, you get that little blend. It lets people know you're playing them in tune. Good. And then, to make it more fun, you want to do the dynamics that are in there, maybe even invent a couple of your own to give it variety. As I said, it's not a short etude. And the accents. You'll see accents start to come in, for example, bar 46. So those are, instead of trills on those notes, you get little accents. So do those. All of this builds comfort with the bow hand, the bow arm, to get an incredible variety of articulations. So have fun and good luck with this one. You've got on the string short strokes, both separate and hooked, trills from the upper and the lower note, trill endings, and octaves, both in double stops but mostly broken. So have fun with this, build those skills, and I'll see you next time. Go to natesviolin.com to download my music with my fingerings in there. Thanks.